Hi, beautiful people. How are ya? I'm Dr. Pammie Jean. I hope you're having a great day. Due to published data, we have learned previously on this channel that the interactions between the neural pain networks in fibromyalgia and the immune system appear to be bidirectional and operate both centrally and peripherally. I am ecstatic about that, let me tell you. And I will explain why. Researchers are continuing to study this area of research because, in my opinion, there is no other explanation for the symptoms of tingling, numbness, and muscle cramps that we get in fibromyalgia, or our lack of temperature regulation, our muscle pain, and all the other symptoms that we endure are due to both our central nervous system and our peripheral nervous system. Remember, our central nervous system is our brain and spinal cord, and our peripheral nervous system is everywhere else outside of the brain and spinal cord. Early researchers seem to determine that fibromyalgia was only a central nervous system disorder. And there's still researchers, doctors, physicians who still say it's only central. They're not yet ready to jump the hurdle into the peripheral nervous system. However, so far, research still seems a bit misleading to me because I still think that we have a neuropathic pain condition, even though researchers are going with nociplastic pain in most cases and the central sensitization. There's also nociceptive pain, which is just our common pain when our body lets us know that something's wrong, like a broken bone or a deep cut, and then we can react appropriately to that pain, get ourselves taken care of, right? Whereas nociplastic pain is a third pain state, and that arises from altered nociceptive pain, despite, as they say, any clear evidence of actual or threatened tissue damage like there is in nociceptive pain. Now, that's what they say, right? But neuropathic means there is pain caused by a lesion or disease of the somatosensory nervous system, that complex web of sensory neurons and pathways. Well, isn't fibromyalgia a disease? And sensory neurons are involved and they're changed. That's what new research is telling us, as we're going to learn here very quickly. But I guess they want to put us in a category of our own. That's just how I feel. What do you think? I mean, do you like being in a category of our own, being called nociplastic? Or do you feel like it is a neuropathic pain condition like I do? Well, let's keep learning. To talk about the central and peripheral nervous system and those changes in fibromyalgia, we need to discuss the dorsal root ganglia. Basically, the dorsal nerve roots carry sensory neural signals to the central nervous system from the peripheral nervous system. A dorsal root ganglion is located from the dorsal root of the spinal nerves. They carry sensory messages from the various receptors that cause pain and determine temperature at the periphery. toward the central nervous system for a response. So our muscles ache in our neck and shoulders, in our arms, in our legs, in our back, in our buttocks. So those messages are being sent to that dorsal root ganglia so that our brain will respond. And of course, it responds that, ow, we hurt, right? And I know, as I was telling my doctor when I had an appointment yesterday, that my legs below my knees, I know it's this way during the day too, probably, but at nighttime, especially when my husband and I lie in bed watching a movie, we're relaxed, we're comfortable, we're not moving around, not sitting up per se, but we're watching a movie and my legs below my knees and my feet are cold. I mean, cold. Well, that cold, if I don't get my lower legs heated up, I'll end up with severe muscle spasms in my calves, in the tops of my feet, in my toes, and they're very painful. So, again, those messages are being sent to the dorsal root ganglia for me to respond, for my body, my brain, my spinal cord to respond saying, ow, heat me up. That's probably in part why I think I have small fiber neuropathy, but it may be just part of fibromyalgia. Do you experience that? In the past, the dorsal root ganglia was believed to not be a part of the development of chronic pain or its maintenance. Newer scientific information shows anatomic and physiological changes that occur within the dorsal root ganglia because of environmental pressures. Okay, it's not changes necessarily seen on the outside, like a cut or a bone crashing through the skin, but there are changes, right? Fibromyalgia is considered a nociplastic pain condition, and so that doesn't make sense to me if there are real anatomical changes occurring. Sorry to keep harping on that. I know they're talking about outward physical changes, but it's again just how I feel. We've known for a while that neuroinflammation is real, a problem in fibromyalgia. Microglial neuroinflammation and mitochondrial membrane of activated microglial cells can be used as a surrogate marker of neuroinflammation in specific brain regions, such as the somatosensory cortex. There it is. The motor cortex, the prefrontal cortex, and other areas as well. But central glial cell mediated neuroinflammation, that's a mouthful, is supported by cerebrospinal fluid studies as well. Neuroinflammation patterns of increased interleukin IL-8 without consistent elevations in IL-1B in patients with fibromyalgia has been shown. There is a link between chemokine-mediated immune system overactivation and central pain sensitization. The dorsal horn has an established role in central sensitization. As stated earlier, the dorsal horn is the key relay center for sensory information. with neurons transmitting pain and other sensory information from the periphery, synapsing at the dorsal horn. The dorsal horn becomes more sensitive to incoming stimuli via several mechanisms, inducing increased excitability of dorsal horn neurons via upregulation of receptors of neuroexcitatory peptides such as N-methyl D-aspartate or NMDA, and a decrease in inhibitory neurotransmitters such as GABA. This is what amplifies pain. C fibers in the dorsal root ganglion are transported to the periphery. Neuropeptides and neurotransmitters that are manufactured in the C fibers of the dorsal root ganglia, in combination with pro-inflammatory cytokines, induce hyperalgesia. We have enhanced reactivity of sensory neurons to normal stimuli. Translated, normal things that don't hurt somebody else will hurt us, like a simple tap on the shoulder. The dorsal root ganglia is technically part of the peripheral nervous system, not the spinal cord. It is an extension of the spinal cord. For this reason, researchers are beginning to understand this relationship with fibromyalgia. Finally, beautiful people, there's great things in the works. At least that's how I feel. Autoimmune mechanisms involving anti-satellite glial cells, which closely envelop the cell bodies of sensory neurons in the dorsal root ganglia, are activated by nerve injury, inflammation, and stress, which release pro-inflammatory and nociceptive molecules and activate nociceptive neurons. These autoimmune mechanisms involve anti-SGC IgG antibodies, which we learned from the famous mouse study, and how fibro could possibly be an autoimmune condition. These neuroinflammatory changes support a key role of the dorsal root ganglia in fibromyalgia pathogenesis, or how fibro develops. There are several neuropeptides, cytokines, and chemokines that are altered in fibro. I have mentioned many of these in other videos, such as TNF, IL-6, and IL-8. Since that famous mouse study in 2021, other researchers, for example, 2 studies in 2023, have studied anti-satellite glial cell IgG autoantibodies in fibro. As usual, I went on for another 15 minutes. So let's continue this awesome discussion about autoimmunity in fibromyalgia in part 2. Stay tuned.